This is Action and Ambition, the show that takes you all over the world to share interviews with the most successful and relevant people on the planet. Hear their backstory, get the most important lessons they've learned on their road to success, and hear exclusive tips on how to implement their success in your own life. Action and Ambition is brought to you by Entrepreneur Magazine and your host, Andrew Metal.
Welcome to the Action and Ambition podcast. I'm your host today, Chase Geyser, and with us we have a very special guest. Squid Grow was conceptualized by the Shiba Inu crypto billionaire Shibtoshi and is breaking boundaries and setting precedents for the meme utility cryptocurrency industry. It's an honor and pleasure to have you guys both with us today. I'll go ahead and let you both introduce yourselves because, for no pun intended, it's very cryptic to speak with you, and I'm very excited to explore the mystery that is you and what you're working on and what you're doing. So go ahead, Shibtoshi. Why don't you start?
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for having us. It's an honor to be here. So those of you listening, I go by Shibtoshi. I am the CEO of Squid Grow LLC. We launched in June of 2022, and we are a meme utility token. We like to refer to ourselves as a meme hybrid. On joining me on this space is my CMO, Dane. He handles marketing and many other things for the project. Dane, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure, man. Real quickly, I'm the CMO for Squid Grow, working with Shibtoshi very closely. I've been in this space now for 7 years. I've been involved with several projects, a few that have gone over $1 billion in market cap. So I've seen things that work, things that don't work, kind of deciphered where we go from here. And that's, kind of where I find myself now, is working basically full time with Shibtoshi for his own personal project, which we'll dive into here.
Very cool. So I want to start off with kind of a bizarre question, but it's the one that comes to mind. Why is it that crypto investors seem to be appearing dead mysteriously?
You mean in reference to the crypto billionaires drowning with their shoes on?
Yeah.
I mean, that's a mystery to me as well, and something I'm very cautious about. Obviously in the crypto space, anybody with money is a very easy target. That's one of my main reasons why I'm choosing to remain undocked for safety reasons with my family and myself. But I can't really attest to that. There's definitely some very questionable things surrounding some of the most recent deaths. But as far as going into detail, obviously I'm not privy to that. Definitely an eye opener though, and something to be cautious about.
Shib, I would add to that. I would say that, I think a lot of times what happens with crypto is that people make money so quickly. It's an industry that really provides opportunity like none other. And a lot of these men that have been killed or perhaps suicided, whatever you may want to call it, they got rich so fast. I don't think they really understood the implications of what that might be. For instance, if you have someone like Elon Musk or CZ from Binance or Vitalik from Ethereum, they understand that everywhere they go, they need a personal security detail. They understand their celebrity, the notoriety that comes with that. But someone that just makes a bunch of money in crypto doesn't realize that they've essentially just become their own personal bank on a very large exponential scale. And it leaves them open to being targeted, and they're not aware of the dangers that may, be existing out there. And I think that you've seen that. And it's probably for a number of various reasons, but it's something to be aware of, that if you become doxxed and if you become a face of an industry, your life changes, and sometimes for the worse. Everywhere you go, you're recognized. You have to have that personal security detail. And that's something that not everybody wants. And Shibtoshi falls into that category. And I completely respect that. A lot of people it makes them uncertain. It's like, oh, why doesn't he show his face? It's like, well, the guy has, a family and things that he wants to keep personal. And I think that is something that should be respected. And, the whole notion of doxing, it also opens up that world that you mentioned, Chase, of people that are being killed because they have so much money. And that's a real threat.
Yeah, absolutely. So who do you guys think Satoshi Nakamoto is?
God, man, these are some banger questions.
You don't have to answer, man. I have to ask.
I'm a very early Bitcoin investor. I found Bitcoin in 2010. I started investing in 2011. I've never done any research into trying to identify the creator. It was very prominent and obvious that he wanted to remain out of the public's eye. So I've not tried to dig into that. I mean, there's a gentleman that won a court case in Florida that supposedly is the founder of Bitcoin, but essentially he won his case based on the fact that he could not access the Genesis wallet, and kind of won his court case by default. I think that's a bunch of BS, to give him that title. But as far as who the creator is, I can't attest to that at all. I wouldn't have the slightest idea of where to start. Obviously I've heard assumptions of who people think it may be, but I don't want to publicly speak on that. It'd just be
Sure.
my own personal views. I don't want to spread misinformation because I honestly don't have the slightest idea. Dane, you want to touch on that?
I think it's Elon, bro. I think he's got. That's what I think, man. No, we'll never know because it's not meant to be known. It's just something that's supposed to be decentralized tech that just goes into perpetuity, and that's that's why I don't think we'll ever know. But it is a cool surname, and it was someone or maybe an institution. But yeah, if I had to guess, I would say Elon.
Yeah, I think so too. The thing with Elon that's so impressive, that stands out, is that he's been repeatedly successful in a number of seemingly disconnected sectors, right? So when he bought Twitter, a lot of people are like, what do you know about running a tech company? And it's like the dude was intimately involved with what ultimately became PayPal, and then was successful with an electric car manufacturer basically before anybody else was successful in the space, and then figured out how to land a rocket back.
That was pretty impressive.
Now of course he owns Twitter, and it's like, if this guy was thinking so deeply about online financial transactions in the late 90s, kind of before anybody was, and he's just got all of the knowledge and IQ and discipline and audacity that he's got, he just fits the profile of who I think, and maybe Satoshi isn't just one person, but I just think he was involved, man.
Definitely a possibility for sure. But as Dane said, I don't think that will ever be public.
Sure.
I'd be interested to know, who it was, but I'm not going to go digging around trying to, piece it together. I've read everything there is to read on the early days of Bitcoin and the white paper, and I found it intriguing. So obviously whoever conceptualized it was definitely an out of the box thinker, and was ready to start a movement, which they achieved on. So I mean, I find it very interesting, but yeah, it definitely could be Elon.
What do you think about the conspiracy theory that it was a test run for the CIA to test the technology before implementing a digital dollar?
Dane, you got any feedback on that?
Yeah, I would say Bitcoin, if you do want to look at it from that light, you could certainly make the argument that it has destabilized fiat currency. That's but I think that's something that humanity needs personally. My personal views on that is that it's been a system that's been corrupted for a long time, and the people need to be given back power. Now, as far as the CBDC, I think that could potentially be a dark thing, like we're seeing in China somewhat. And crypto to me offers an alternative to that. If we didn't have crypto and they went to CBDC, it's like, what other choice do you have? So I think that it actually can be considered a beacon of hope if you're against CBDC, like I am. So, I think there is a lot of validity to that. Maybe it was by the CA, maybe it was by, a group out of a university even, who knows? But it's done its job to destabilize fiat and offer an alternative. And, CBDC does seem to be where things are going. So we'll see what comes out on top.
So Shib, how did you first get interested in cryptocurrency? You mentioned that you were an early adopter in 2010, 2011. I don't think I really heard much about cryptocurrency till maybe 2013, 2014, just because I have a couple of close friends that happen to be in the intelligence community, and they were raving about Ethereum. And had I not had those friends, I wouldn't have heard about any of it until everybody else did in 2017. So what was it that I mean, are you just sort of are you a Reddit kid, man? Like, were you just on the threads?
No, so essentially in 2010, one of my buddies had mentioned Bitcoin to me about this, cryptocurrency that was, uh, not regulated by the government, so on and so forth. I started looking into it, but I kind of stopped in my tracks when I found the strong connection between Bitcoin and the dark web.
Yeah.
After doing some digging into the dark web, I realized that there was a lot of illicit things going on there. So I kind of wrote it off as an illegal thing, and lost complete interest in it. But in 2011, I was really into playing poker at the time, and a big group of my friends, we were in Vegas, and we had just got done playing a hold'em game at the area, and they were talking about playing this online poker game, and the currency was Bitcoin. And so that rung a bell with me. So I started asking my buddies about it. You can actually, pay fiat for this Bitcoin, get this Bitcoin and switch it back to money if you wish to do so. So they explained the whole process to me of how they maneuvered around the blockchain and utilized it for these poker games. So very very shortly after that, I did my first purchase of Bitcoin, took it to the tables, lost it, obviously re-upped more Bitcoin, and off to the races. And in the process, I started doing my research. That's around the time I read the white paper, and everything that I could essentially find on Bitcoin I started reading, and I was really intrigued by everything that was out there. So I became a firm believer in it, and started my early dollar cost averaging. Obviously, then had no idea that Bitcoin was going to do anything close to what it's done. But I'm definitely lucky that I got involved when I did. And that kind of sent me down the rabbit hole into the other cryptocurrencies that I got involved with: Bitcoin Cash, Zcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum came out. That kind of just was my gateway to it, and I just started buying everything crypto that came out. Obviously I had some missteps in the process. Invested in some projects and lost my money, but it's kind of a learning curve. But definitely was very intrigued by it, and thought that it had the potential to actually catch on worldwide, and it's definitely having an impact in the world now.
Okay, one more fun question before we get into the really good stuff with Squid Grow. What do you think about Ross Ulbricht? Guilty or set up?
I don't think I want to publicly speak on that. I don't want to pass judgment on somebody, and to be quite frank, I mean, he was essentially caught red-handed, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I mean that's pretty hard to get out of that the way that they took him down. But I mean, he went through his process, and they ruled how they ruled. I mean,
Yeah.
It's not for me to judge, but I mean, as I said, he was caught pretty much red-handed. So I mean, that's kind of hard to explain away. Having your hand in the cookie jar.
Right. It was a time where there was less regulation on just in general with stuff online. So Ross was sort of like the exemplified case for people. And, hey, you don't money launder. You don't allow people to sell illicit drugs and whatnot on your platforms, because if you do, you're done. Right. And it was like at the time, like it was like this weird decentralization way for people were doing it. It was Mega Upload with Kim.com. Slightly before that, there was all these different things. So I think him and a few others were basically made examples of by what the internet police are wanting
definitely made an example of. Definitely. I mean, the amount of time that he got was excessive, and I'm not saying that I agree with it or don't disagree with it, but they definitely did make an example out of him.
But yeah, they certainly didn't do him any favors.
No, definitely not.
Yeah, it's not like he's a violent criminal. It's just like the guy was a nerd that figured out a way to make a lot of money, and you got to respect.
Yeah,
that.
I mean, really, I mean, he wasn't sending anything, but he was facilitating it, indirectly. But he was held accountable for it, and a due process happened, and he was found guilty, and the court process played out how it played out. I mean, it's definitely a waste of a life, in my personal opinion. I mean, there definitely could have been some kind of rehabilitation, I think, instead of just, taking his life from him, essentially.
Yeah, they should
But
have hired him, man. They should have hired him.
yeah,
Like, you
yeah,
know what I mean?
definitely,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely not me to pass judgment, but he was caught red-handed with his hand in the cookie jar, and he was made of, an example was made out of him, and it's unfortunate, for him and his family.
So tell me about Squid Grow. What is it, and when did you guys start it?
All right, solid question. Squid Grow was conceptualized back in November of 21. Although we didn't launch until June of 2020. Essentially, it started with, I got tired of seeing my friends and my family get caught up in these scam tokens and losing their money, essentially on a daily basis. So I had kind of pressure from my friends to, in my position, start a project. So I started looking into it, and ultimately the pieces fell into place. I met my CFO, who's not currently here today, RW, and we decided that we were going to come out with our own project. So we rolled out Squid Grow, and marketed it as a meme coin. But we're a meme coin with strong utility and development, and we'll touch base on that shortly.
Okay, so you say meme coin, you mean similar to like Doge? Like it wasn't necessarily
Yeah,
intended to replace fiat currency altogether, but it was just sort of like a fun project. But it's
yeah.
actually
So
got some pretty cool tech.
yeah, so essentially, branding it as a meme coin is something that is relatable to the world, something that people can relate to. In our situation, it was Squid Games, the Netflix TV
Yeah,
series, and there's a lot of little content out there in relation to Squid Games that can be memeable. And, fun little memes floating around the internet, the Telegram, on Twitter. It catches on. You get trending, your memes get trending, and then it goes viral and it spreads awareness of the project. So when I refer to it as a meme, that's kind of what I'm referring to. But a traditional meme is a no utility project. It's just that, just a meme, just a fun little running joke type of thing. We're a project with utility, so we are actually spending money to develop our project and benefit our community in many ways. And I am very excited for some of the things that we are have in development and delivering on very shortly in the near future.
Ross or Chase, not Ross, Chase. For those that don't know, meme coins are labeled as such, but they are becoming much more. Doge actually had a payment protocol. Shiba has
right.
real world developers of all different types coming on board and adding stuff to it by the day. And essentially, you could liken it to what you see in the advertising world with something like Aflac with the duck, or Lucky Charms. You got the leprechaun. A lot of people would have never known about these products had they not used clever advertising. So that type of stuff has kind of found its way into the tech world of crypto. And what we found is that we've been able to track the casual market, because for whatever reason, Doge and Sheep caught their eye, and others like SafeMoon of 2021 went crazy doing that same path. So we've been able to catch the casuals that would not otherwise be interested in tech stocks, basically, and draw them in. And then at the same time, you can add thick utility to that project and kind of bring in the best of both worlds. A lot of times, utility tokens, on the other hand, that just market themselves as something that's usable for people that are obsessed with blockchain tech, they just don't get the following. They don't get the exposure. So meme tokens have kind of created that bridge to generate a huge audience, and they're very explosive, and they're on the rise because of that.
Yeah, well, and I think that one of the advantages of sort of branding it as a meme coin is that you don't arouse all the suspicion around other sort of unknown tokens that claim to solve all the world's problems, right? And so by like having this fun element associated with it, rather than saying, hey, every time you buy our token, you're reducing carbon emissions in South America, but like there's so many of these like weird sort of ICOs that turned out to be just kind of bullshit. And I think by labeling yours as a fun thing, it actually builds trust. Like by saying but I don't know, but it was a really neat approach.
You're spot on, actually.
Yeah, cool. So what goes into developing something like this? I mean, do you guys have to have like a sophisticated team to build this out? I mean, can one guy sit behind his desk and Satoshi it and just like make it happen? What's it actually
Um,
like behind the scenes?
I mean, I'm sure one guy could. I'm not a developer. I don't try to pretend to be a dev. Although I do know a little bit about Solidity. I definitely wouldn't take the approach and try to sit down at the computer and build something. I have a team of 15 developers over two development houses that are building out our utilities for us. Essentially, I am the CEO and the founder, and I'm surrounded by my core team. And outside of that, I'm surrounded by my developers and my admins on the team. But I definitely leave the building of the project, to people that are much brighter than I am. I essentially just tell them what I want to deliver and what I want to achieve, and we go in that direction. And a lot of time, a lot of money is definitely spent. Building behind the scenes. It's quite stressful, because you have a lot of pressure on you. You don't want to deliver something to your community that's under par, and not a quality project. So definitely a lot of testing, a lot of audits, a lot of you know, uh, essentially starting over from scratch. You roll out a utility, and I decide I don't like it. It's not appealing to the eyes, or I think it could work better. So essentially go back to the drawing board. Scrap all that money that was spent and that time, and start over. So there is a certain level of stress in it, but there's also a certain aspect of fun and anticipation of what's to come, and just kind of keeping your sights focused on the future of the direction you're trying to take the project. I mean, it's definitely quite exciting, but definitely a lot of late nights, lack of sleep, many hours spent on the phone and on the computer, talking to my team. So it's not a walk in the park, to say the least, but it's something that I do truly enjoy. Obviously, I'm pretty well off in life. It's been an added stress, but as I said, I definitely enjoy every moment of it. It's a challenge. Trying to build something from an idea is pretty amazing in my personal opinion.
What's it like running a company and as an anon?
Well, it does have its ups and downs. You
Hmm.
do have the fair share of people that bring to question, why aren't you doxing? Why aren't you putting your face out there, and so on and so forth. But I would argue that with uh, Satoshi or Ryoshi from Shiba Inu, like nobody knows who they are. They've never been public,
Right.
and in fact, nobody's ever heard their voices. So, just because somebody's, undoxed does not mean that they cannot run a successful project, because it's been done many, many times, and just because somebody is doxed doesn't mean that they're going to run their company as they should. I mean,
Sure.
look at Terra Luna, I mean, look at FTX, I
Yeah.
mean, look at those scandals. So, some people feel a little more secure, having a face to go with it. But I would rebuttal that with, somebody in my position that, has money from crypto would definitely make me a target, and I'm not willing to jeopardize my family's safety or my own just to put a face out there. We've established a certain level of trust with our community that we have a motto, under promise, over deliver. And I think my community respects that I choose to remain anonymous, and I've not given them a reason to not trust me. Everything that I've ever publicly spoken on, we have delivered on. So I don't, I mean, it does have its pros and cons. You have your naysayers on social media, so on and so forth. But I think majority of the space understands the desire to want to remain undoxed, for safety reasons. I mean, Dane, you have anything to add to that?
I would just touch on what it's like managing a crypto project. And as Shibtoshi said, he's in a pretty comfortable place in life compared to most, so he's able to do this full time, and it actually takes more than full time. He what I notice is that he spends probably at least 16 hours a day on this project, 7 days a week. And that's something unique to crypto, because unlike other industries, this is an international thing. We're everywhere. We talk to guys in Singapore, Australia, Europe, you name it, across the board. We're in communication with them. It never sleeps. It never closes. There's no CME like the stock market. There's things that happen at 4 a.m. There's things that happen at 4 p.m. You have to be ready for them at all times. And as the CEO of a project like Shibtoshi is, decisions have to be made very quickly when certain things happen. It's not just all sunshine and rainbows. Obviously, crypto has been in a very dark time. So you have to roll with the punches of the macro environment that you're in. And, that's what's cool about SquidGrow, is that we've been able to come out of a brutal condition. Most people got wrecked last year in any market. Yet we started our project. We funded it. We built. We've grown our community. We've gone up in market cap. And that's a testament to the work that Shibtoshi's put in. People have seen and noticed the amount of hours that he's put in, whereas most people shy away from it when things get ugly and dark like they have. We've run to it, and we've been building and establishing that trust in a very tough time. And when you see the market breaking out like it is today, and this past week, things start to pay off. People start to realize, hey, these guys are up to something here. I want to see what it's about.
Absolutely. Well, I don't blame you for remaining anonymous at all, Shibtoshi. I would do the exact same thing that you're doing. So I totally buy it and totally understand. So, I follow Michael Burry on Twitter. I've been a fan of his ever since I saw The Big Short whenever it came out, and obviously he's expressed some degree of criticism. I don't know if necessarily over all of crypto, but certainly over like Bitcoin and some of the I don't know, trend investors, right? Just sort of on the bandwagon types. And he mentioned once in a tweet in the past year or two, at least once, that he was concerned at how much of the crypto investments were leveraged, right? People maxing out their credit cards to invest. And I think maybe you guys would know much better than I, but it seemed to me like some of that might have been what played out, since we had this like hyperinflation and economic problems over the last year or so. People were cashing out to actually pay bills. And that had an impact on all the markets in the space. And so my question for you is, do you think that contributed to what's sort of been going on recently in the space? And secondly, how is this going to play out when and if we have a serious problem with, the Ponzi scheme that is the fiat dollar catching up with us?
Well, first of all, in regards to the market, the crypto market does what it does, every year. We have our bull run, we have our bear market. This is, a prime example of that. Obviously, we've had, a black swan, two black swans. We had the crash of Terra Luna, and then the crash of FTX exchange, which contributed to that. And there was a lot of liquidations going on. But, outside of that, if you look at the history of say, Bitcoin, every year, essentially, it's predictable that, the price will pump and then the price will go back down, and it will rise again when the conditions are correct. In regards to the dollar, the fiat dollar, I do truly believe that the governments are eventually going to stray away from the dollar and roll out their own cryptocurrency. I don't know if it'll be a one world currency, but I think that they definitely want to they have seen how lucrative, the crypto space can be, and they definitely want to get involved in that in one way, shape, or form. And they might do that by, adapting a current cryptocurrency or coming out with their own that they can control, and essentially, if it's government controlled, everything's going to be on chain. So essentially, there will be no decentralization to it. It's going to be pretty centralized, in my opinion. And I'm sure there'd be a lot of KYCs, and they'd be able to track every purchase of everything that you ever, acquire in life. Totally goes against everything that crypto stands for, in my personal opinion. But, those are just kind of my views on that. Dane, you got anything to add?
Without going on too much of a rant, I would say that with Bitcoin, it has a cyclical nature to it. And it is, of course, a risk on asset when you are talking about altcoins and meme coins. Yes. So risk on assets obviously have some times that are really, really crazy, and other times that are really, really brutal. So it's important for people to recognize the nature of the beast, because you are within a macro environment that has a cyclical nature. In its history, it's always been that way. Bitcoin has the halving This has a lot to do with what you see in price action, how far you're away from the last halving and how close you are to the next one. You will see price action that depends entirely on this. And yes, the macro environment of the stocks and what the Fed's doing and what the global economy and the fiat is doing has an impact on our industry. But our industry is also its own macro environment as well. So it tends to operate, the way it wants, and from what we've seen thus far in the past 13 years. And that is something to be aware of, that it tends to attract people with extreme FOMO, and it tends to wreck people as they panic sell. And so you have to sort of go against the grain if you want to conquer this industry as a trader and you live and die by that sword. It can be a very brutal thing to be over leveraged and to take those L's. But that's the game you play when you get into leverage trading. That is a form of gambling that exists on top of a market that is very volatile. So you're playing with fire, and you can make a lot of money and lose a lot of money. That's just how it is.
Well, look at the amount of millionaires that cryptocurrency is minting, every year versus, somebody investing in stocks. Essentially in cryptocurrency, you can essentially invest, a relatively small amount into a project in the beginning, and as it grows and starts raising in market cap, you can profit substantially, from that. I mean, look at Bitcoin. If somebody would have invested, when it, creation and held all the way to the top of $69,000, you would be extremely in profit, millions and millions of dollars. Look at Dogecoin, same with Doge, Shiba Inu. I can attest to that. I got into SHIB day one and rode it all the way to the top, and I still hold my bag today. These are relatively small investments that can make life-changing money, but without great risk, or with great risk comes great reward. So like Dane said, it is a gamble, but then again, you're gambling essentially when you buy stocks in the stock market. It's kind of the same thing. Your stock price goes up, it goes down. Numbers come out from the Fed, plummets the price. It's kind of the same thing. It's kind of the same concept. The difference is, in regards to stock, like you actually own, a percentage in like a known company. In crypto, you own a percentage of the project itself. It's a digital asset, but that digital asset definitely has value. You can redeem that, for fiat, and, wire transfer that to your bank account or however you choose to do so, and you can live on that. I mean, it's definitely extremely profitable. There is a lot of risk in the market, especially times like this. I leverage trader myself. I like to leverage Bitcoin and Ethereum, and I'm getting wrecked right now. Every move I seem to make, the market does the opposite. On the other hand, my CFO, he's killing it himself. Dane's been having great trades. So it's just, it's that FOMO. If you have to do a certain level of education into the market conditions and kind of what's surrounding the market when you choose to try to get involved with it or leverage a position. But I mean, it's still, I'd go back to the amount of wealth that crypto is bringing to people is substantial, and I'd say probably more so than the stock market ever has. I mean, look at that 16-year-old Bitcoin investor that made $1 million in Bitcoin, before he even, was 18 years old. I mean, he couldn't have done that in the stock market. He wouldn't have been able to buy stocks. I mean, it's definitely the new gold rush, I think, and it's definitely can be life-changing for a lot of people.
So what are your goals for SquidGrow for 2023?
Well, for the goals for Squid Grow is, as we announced to the community, we're dropping a couple of different utilities. Obviously we have our own trading swap. We've partnered with Mike S. Miller from DC Comics, Marvel Comics, and Game of Thrones to do our 10,000 piece NFT collection. So with that, we have 100 ultra rare pieces where the ultra rares are depicted holding a little Polaroid picture of another NFT, such as like a Mutinate, Doodle, Kennel Club, Metaverse Land, so on and so forth. And we're giving those out, to our community. If you are lucky enough to mint one of the ultra rares, you redeem both NFTs, our NFT and our ultra rare NFT. In addition to that, we're rolling out our own marketplace for our NFT collections, where we will list other NFT collections from other projects as well. We are bridging to the Ethereum chain, so we will be achieving that relatively soon. And one of the things that I am most excited about is we are building SGX, and SGX is our fully decentralized perpetual exchange. And the cool thing about that is the profits generated on that exchange will go back to my community in the form of buybacks on the chart and feeding our liquidity pool. So for the immediate future, for 2023, obviously, I want to just, roll out everything that I've told my community that I have been working on, and roll those out, have successful launches, and continue to market our project and grow our community in a positive way.
That makes a lot of sense. So where can people find you and follow you as well as engage with SquidGrow?
So we have a website. It's squidgrow.wtf. On the website, you can find the links to all of our social medias, Twitter, Telegram, Discord. Our community thrives in Telegram. We have about 8,000 members in there. And that is essentially like our main hub for the project. You can find the team in there every day, all day. We're very accessible to the community. That's one thing that kind of sets us apart, from other projects, is you can directly talk to the team. If you have personal questions that you want to talk in DM, you just message us in the main chat and throw our @ in there and send us a message, and you can get in contact with us that way. But Dane, am I missing any social media platforms?
No, you nailed it, man. Telegram is the main thing, like you said. Twitter is a huge thing for crypto. We call it crypto Twitter. That's where we do most of our advertising. In fact, it's just that there's so much traffic there now. It's silly not to. And yeah, as Shibtoshi said, we have a very unique thing, because as an investor, you can actually come and talk to the CEO. You can actually come and talk to the CFO, the CMO, the entire team of mods and community there are there 24/7, 7 days a week to engage with any new investors. And that's one of the cool, transparent things about our project, is that we're always there to, put to bed any concerns or questions people have very quickly.
Well, it's been an honor and a pleasure to have you guys both on the Action and Ambition podcast. And I hope that you will come back and join us after some time passes again and keep us updated as to how things are going.
Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for your time, and it's been a pleasure.
Absolutely.
We'd love to come back,
care,
Chase.
guys.
Thank you so much, man.
Absolutely. Thank you guys, and stay safe out there. All right.
Take it easy, buddy. Will do. You as well.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to Action and Ambition with your host, Andrew Metal. Please leave a review and subscribe, and go to andrewmetal.com for all the exclusive lessons, behind-the-scenes footage, and video content of the show. Follow us on Facebook and YouTube @Action and Ambition, and we'll see you on the next episode.